So we're on now.
Okay, now it's loading. It's loading. Now, okay. Now I can see what we said in there. Okay. Now I see
for my son, drinking my cup, smoking my lungs, life that we live, get off fear none. I look around, city
on my TV.
Spots that we hung, and it ain't the same, but we don't complain, but make no mistakes. Got ride with the mob, cause I stay with the drum. Bitch, I don't fear none. Me and my OG, born no OG. Put cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused. Keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless. They'll blow shit, they don't know shit. Got ride with the mob, stay with the drum. Bitch, I don't fear none. Me and my OG, born no OG. Put cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused. Keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless. They'll blow shit, they don't know shit. What should I ride, nigga? Benz to the lack. Hit the highway with the wind in my back, blood in my eyes, tears in my yak. The nigga that you met, same nigga in my raps. I hit the road with minimal luggage. I came with killers if I'm in the function. I move with gorillas and all of his thuggin'. They ask where we from, straight out the jungle. They want my demise. I think it's funny, yo, bitch on my line. Pussy get punished, you know I'ma ride. That road they get rugged.
I'm gonna go ahead and put a link out on Twitter real quick.
All right, now it's doing it on the phone and the TV. On the phone, I had to get out of YouTube, then go back on it to see the live pop up. But on my TV, it just automatically popped up.
I put the food on the table, cause that's all I ever knew. I won't put no bitch on no pedestal. I got too much on my schedule. Live by the car, ride with the gun, live for my queen, die for my son, drinking my cup, smoking my lungs, the life that we live, get off fear none. I look around, the city I'm from, the places we've been, the spots that we hung, and it ain't the same, but we don't complain, but make no mistakes. Got ride with the mob, cause I stay with the drum, bitch I don't fear none, me and my OG, born no OG, put cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused, keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless, they'll blow shit, they don't know shit. Got ride with the mob, cause I stay with the drum. Bitch, I don't fear none. Me and my OG, born no OG. Put cushion my lungs, gotta stay focused. Keep both eyes open, cause where I'm from, niggas hopeless. They'll blow shit, they don't know shit. Hey, what y'all know about the legend of Marcy? Heroin needles and shots of Bacardi. Calling the shots in the Legion of Doom. Same motherfucker pushed me out the womb. Same motherfucker told me to be patient. Told me not to fake it. Told me I would make it. Living and dating while battling Satan. They sleeping on greatness. It's hard to embrace. I done came alive in that booth. Young Farrakhan in that booth. Never told a lie in that booth. Niggas paralyzed by the truth. Marijuana eyes when I move. Where I'm at, you'll never see this type of view. Niggas talking beef during hunting season. We can do whatever about a plate of food. Y'all know my heart in the kitchen. I'm only here for the art and the wisdom. You here for the cars and the bitches. And just like them hoes, you want all the attention. I don't want y'all in my business. All y'all need to know is I'm an audio chemist. These are humble beginnings. Don't know where it ends. All I know is I'm moving.
All right, peace, world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. I'm really just, it's just a slow Saturday. I don't know if you caught the boxing on ESPN earlier this morning. I was actually doing the live stream with my guest, Rolando Vargas, earlier. And it's not much to do right now, so I thought I'd jump back on and invite a partner of mine on that I talk a lot of boxing with. You can find him on Twitter at Lazy Lefty. Or I'm trying to get him to revive his platform, Queen City Boxing, but we'll get into that. But what's going on, Left?
Man, dealing with these shade tree mechanics, like I told you earlier. Man, I had about $300 worth of parts. Now I got to go take about $200 back and get a $100 part. But other than that, it's good.
This your work vehicle?
Yeah, this is one of my work vehicles. The other one got a ball bearing messed up. I'm all messed up over here, but it ain't nothing but a small thing to a giant.
All right. Well, look, man, we just gonna freestyle a little bit. Before we get started, I'm gonna throw it out there that all the views and opinions expressed over the next X amount of minutes don't necessarily reflect Bite Down Boxing. No, I'm just playing. Where you want to start, man?
I mean, what's hot right now? What's hot in the news right now? You got a couple things. You got Callum Smith turning down Billy Joe Saunders. That seems to be what's picked up today. That seems to be a real big topic right there, which I was interested in because I thought that was a good fight that they were going to make. It would have been a good fight to watch. Because Billy Joe, man, he's just been really nothing, you know? Really nothing.
Yeah.
It's like he can't get over that hump.
Yeah, I didn't really check into that story too much other than the headline. It does seem like, I mean, let us know what happened. If you read the article on it and whatnot, what's the details on it? because I didn't get to that one just
Basically
yet.
Billy Joe, offered a 50-50 seven-figure fight to Callum Smith in the UK, and Callum said it wasn't enough money, and he turned it down. But no counter offer, didn't try to negotiate or anything. So it was just like he didn't want to fight. Basically, I mean, if it's a small offer, then send my man another offer, or send him your own offer, or negotiate a higher price. You can't just say, well, the offer's too small. I don't want to fight him. Not saying he's ducking. This thing about it, like I said, I'll say the same thing with Canelo. Canelo don't want to fight Jamal Charlo, but that don't mean Canelo is ducking him. You know what I'm saying? It's just a fight they don't want to fight because he has better options out there.
That's almost where I was with this a couple of weeks ago with the old saying about a man is only as loyal as his options. And I mean, I don't look at all of this stuff as ducking myself. I mean, you can only be engaged with any negotiation or any potential fight partner to the according to the level of what your options are out there. And there's some fighters, frankly, that just have more options than the guy that's waiting for a fight.
Correct. That's why I don't use ducking a lot. I mean, in some cases it's obvious, but I don't use it a lot. And when you fought a man like when Callum Smith has been through the boxing series and fought the best that they had to offer besides Benavidez, but fought the best that was available at 168. He's not going to duck Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, come on, we got to be realistic about it. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. Well, let's back up then for a second. Then talking about current events and what's going on. What does Andre do in terms of waiting around to see if he gets this call from Canelo or not? I mean, if Canelo,
he actually he's in the what do you call that? He's at a good spot right now because you realize he just fought last week, so he's not rushing to get another fight. He still has time where he could take off, come back in October, November, and that would be a decent amount. That'd be a good amount of time for him to be off and for him to have another fight to stay active. But having another quick turnaround this quick, I think it benefits him because of the level of competition that he has fought, which hasn't been really high. So you got two ways to go about it. You can fight high level competition and be on point on your game, or you can fight lower level competition but fight more often to stay on point in your game. And I think that's really also what helped Andy Ruiz win that fight. The fact that he had just had a fight and was still in shape, and he didn't give himself a chance to get out of shape or to get rested. AJ hadn't had a fight since October.
I agree with that. I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that's another thing that nobody was really discussing. But I think that was one of the selling points. Ironically, that was one of the selling points of Andy Ruiz going into that fight, was that he was sharper than AJ.
Yep. He had a good fight, got some rounds, knocked some rust off, and was right back in it. He didn't give himself a chance to get out of shape or to get rested. And that's the thing with Andy. I'm hoping he stays focused and don't let himself go after being out for so having to wait for so long. So I think he knows what's at stake. I think he understands that this is an opportunity he'll never get again if he messes it up.
What do you think about some of the criticism of him? With the kind of the victory lap that he's doing a little bit, but then he had the new purchase, with the Rolls Royce or whatever it was, and now he's kind of defending himself, saying that people are criticizing him for it.
He needs to stop defending him. You know what I would do if I was him? I would be trolling the hell out of people. Like that guy said, like he responded to the guy the other day, talking about, well, I'm glad Joshua's training and all. Ruiz doing this eating Snickers. Man, if I was Ruiz, I would have posted a picture of me eating Snickers. This is what I want you to think. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I don't understand.
I want you to think I'm doing.
That's why I don't understand some of the constant defending of oneself in the game. Claressa Shields is another one, man. It's just constantly defending herself against detractors, haters, the ops and whatnot. And it's why spend so much
Let
energy?
me say something. Oh, my fault. Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
Well, I just don't understand why so much energy sometimes is spent on some of this stuff when I mean, the fighter themselves or him or herself should know what's going on, what all the circumstances are, what all the details are. So how much time would you really spend out here defending yourself tooth and nail on on everything?
Yeah, it's like this. If you read, I'm breaking down like this. There's a study, especially on Twitter, where they say, I think 20% of the users tweet 80% of the content. So basically, everybody is just talking to themselves. The actual general public, general consensus is not what you're reading. You know what I'm saying? You're reading the voice of a minority. So I remember Clarissa Shields, I think it was the Crawford fight in New York. She was talking about how much love she was getting out there at the Crawford fight. You know, everybody was giving her love and this and that. And I was thinking to myself, why don't she put two and two together and realize that the people outside of this echo chamber don't think the same way these people on this echo chamber being Twitter think. So why are you defending yourself against the minority when the majority is showing you love?
And you're riding a good wave right now, and that's the thing that I think it becomes. I think you lose some people who are rocking with you and who are riding with you for the simple fact. Every time I see you tweeting something, I don't want to see you here looking weak and off of your square. So now I'm questioning what you're really about, and now I'm getting ready to tune you out because I don't.
Exactly. It get old quick.
Exactly. So I just wish she would consider that. You just sit up here and sweep somebody and go sweep all 10 rounds, all 3 cards, almost get the knockdown and whatnot. And you're gonna turn around and sit here and defend what you just showed, what the tape says.
Yeah. And especially after you said how much love you was getting at the fight. So the fight fans rocking with you, but you end up wasting your time on these couple of people on this app that's just trying to trigger a response from you. That's all it is.
Agreed.
I've done it before. You know what I'm saying? So I know how people are. I'll get bored and say, man, let me go mess with somebody. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily famous boxers. Some people I joke around with. I might say something, just to, get them a little off their square. That's what it is. So especially when they see a famous person, they can do that too, man. They gonna keep doing it because it's giving them more. They getting more followers off of that. They getting more people like the negative attention as much as the positive. They just want the attention. Period. Point blank. Just the attention is good enough.
Right. So you're down in Cincinnati. Let's change gears real quick and go to take a look at some local stuff. You're down in Cincinnati. Have you heard anything about this card that I guess Nate Tubbs is putting together for August?
Yes, I heard. I think it was August 17th. That's that weekend. That's what I heard. 2 weeks ago. That my boy Cedric was coming back fighting on that card. He's in training for that card. So we will see. I haven't heard anything. When I go to my son's gym Monday, I will ask them if they heard anything about it. That's only one thing I heard from one person.
Okay, I know we got a dude locally, Jeff Camp, Southpaw, welterweight. I guess he's fighting for like a some kind of title, from one of these smaller organizations. But he ran into me in the gym the other day, and he was just adamant about he was just excited, I guess, about this fight being a chance to kind of elevate him into something else. And I would say that Camp might be he's been a little more active than Cedric, so but both of those guys seem to really know what they're doing in the ring. You know what I'm saying? We just don't know what they are or aren't right now.
Yeah, exactly. Something like I said, when you're at this level, at the small level, no matter how good you are, one little personal problem can end your whole career, which, Cedric went through that with us. The little personal problem he had, personal issue in his life. So that could just end your whole career because now you got to go do something else that's more stable financially. So yeah, that's what happened with a lot of guys, man. A lot of guys they got the talent, but they aren't able to show it because boxing ain't paying the bills.
Right, and that's what I was discussing earlier with the Rolando Vargas cat, like, and also Omar Juarez, who was another fighter who was on here last week or last stream with the fighter. But that has to be or can't be disregarded, the fact that fighting on these undercards, of these bigger organizations, that has to be a major benefit in terms of just staying motivated towards this thing. Like, someone like Jeff Camp, he lost a fight over in Indianapolis against a guy, I think his name is Andrew Rogers. He says he clearly beat the guy, and it was just the kid is from Indianapolis, and he got the victory.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so
that's another risk you take right there. If you don't have nobody on for your back, if you going in there against the house fighter on these small shows, they'll rob you and nobody won't even care.
Exactly. But then, I think the story was he actually answered a phone call right before the fight and found out that a good friend of his had been killed. And right off of hearing that, getting that information, like a best friend type friend, right off of getting that information, he went out there and actually, I'm sorry, that might have been his first loss. I'm sorry. I think he's 5-2-1 now. The situation with Andrew Rogers is just that after he kind of turned his record around and got a couple of wins, they've offered money to fight Rogers again, and Rogers won't take the fight.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing for all. Well, okay, now I'm gonna touch on something that you said about answering that phone call, which might have thrown him off, which was another discussion that people were having about why the Charlos weren't fighting on the same card again, which was. Okay, after Jamal seen his brother get beat, he turned around in one of the worst performances he's had in a while, right?
Fair point. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's a distraction that you really don't want those two. It's cool to do it once. It's cool to do it once as then you turn it into a novelty thing after that. We're selling twins instead of we're selling WB champion Jamal Charlo and WB junior lightweight champion or ex-champion Jermell Charlo. You don't want to turn it into a novelty thing. But yeah, things like that, I think that had an effect on his performance too against Corrball. But yeah, man, he's going into these any little thing like that, man, can throw you off. You got to really, really stay focused, 100% focused.
I didn't really take that into consideration when I was looking at this fight. At these two fights get made. I guess I was more focused on the fact that, looking at the rematch between between Jermell and Tony Harrison. I don't know. I guess maybe I was looking at it from a budget perspective, or just, with that being a world title fight or whatever. I guess I was looking at it from a totally different angle. But yeah, I have heard that the last couple of weeks that he was a bit. Distracted going into that fight after watching his brother. I mean, those dudes are very, closely related, or
twins. You can't get no closer. My mother's a twin.
Exactly.
You can't get no closer than that. You can't get no closer to that.
Exactly.
I don't know.
But before we do move on though, man, like I was getting ready to say, I did want to get your full thought. I mean, you spoke on it a little bit with what Andre can do, but if he isn't able to secure that, if he doesn't get that call from Canelo, how does he? Does he tell the team to get to work trying to make the unification fight with Charlo, with Jamal? Or does he have to consider going up? I mean, Canelo was out here creating events and, damn near playing fantasy boxing, looking at at opponents in 3 weight classes. Is it a matter where Team Andre might have to become that creative as well to the best of their ability?
Are you saying if Canelo fights who? Triple G?
No, if Canelo will not fight Andre, and if Triple G, which we went into offline, if that fight doesn't happen, what does Andre do to start basically pushing it, advancing his own business, his own name?
Well, he has to. I mean, it's easy for us to say, man. He gotta make the Charlo fight. That's the easy thing to say. And then we also got to look at Eddie Hearn tried to get Charlo before him. He turned down the match. How much money is he going to offer him? Jamal Charlo training was on a boxing ring, cost about $10 million.
Damn.
Do they have that $10 million? It's a lot of factors that go into that. Andrade, he's in a good spot right now, but then he's in a bad spot right now. How about Jacobs?
Or that
Daniel Jacobs. He's getting paid a lot of money. I'm pretty sure he can make that weight cut one more time to 160. He's getting paid a lot of money, So one thing about that is that guys can't complain about is risk versus reward. They get a lot of reward for those risks, for the level of risk they expect to take. That's Canelo, that's Triple G, that's Andrade, that's Jacobs, that's all of them. They get paid very well. So the risk versus reward factor, I don't understand how that factors into it,
Yeah, looking at, these guys got to make smart decisions, man. And so like you said, I'm always kind of I'm reluctant to get out here and say what these guys should and shouldn't do, because like you said, I don't know all the full 360 of everything that they're considering and whatnot, what they're looking at. So I'm usually a little slow to go with the whole duck season talk and all that type of stuff. It's a lot of stuff riding on these decisions.
I tell you one that they should try to grab, and which I think they would be able to grab, which would be an entertaining fight to me, would be Eubank Jr.
Yeah, I agree with that. But Eubank Jr. is up at say what?
He's not a big 168. He's not a big 168 fighter. He said he can make 160.
You talking about Andre and Chris Eubank Jr.?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad fight.
No, yeah, like you were saying, you got to get creative.
And I guess that was my whole thing for for both Charlo and Andre, was the fact that you can only sit out here and complain so much about the whole Canelo situation. It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. But just like Sean Porter and maybe Danny Garcia to a degree, and to Keith Thurman and those guys at the end of the day, at the end of Floyd's run, when they were all sitting around trying to make themselves look pretty for Floyd Mayweather, and it never happened. At some point in time, you got to start working on your own business. And I think they just need to look at this as an opportunity. Like, what can I go out here and do?
And you see who Floyd came back to fight. McGregor, because he was the only one out here putting in the work. I mean, it was a BS fight, don't get me wrong. But if you look at the way McGregor was handling his business, he was the only one out here putting in the work, raising his name, raising his profile to catch Floyd's attention. All the other guys was posturing, and I don't know what they was doing, to tell you the truth. That was the perfect opportunity for somebody to step up, and everybody dropped the ball.
Definitely. I'm looking on here, man. I'm trying to see what's a hot topic. Well, I guess, man, I mean, the next big fight that's coming up is obviously Pacquiao and Keith Thurman. I'm going to admit, I'm going to throw it out there, I haven't really dug into this fight a whole lot. I kind of don't know where I am with it. I just struggle with putting too much into a 40-year-old fighter down here, at these lower weight classes. I just don't know what this man is going to be fight to fight, come fight night at that age.
Well, I don't rate Thurman too high, honestly. I think Thurman, especially after that fight, who did he fight earlier? Josecito Lopez.
Yeah.
Lopez was just as inactive as Thurman was coming into that fight. So I don't, and the way he gave Thurman that work, I don't rate Thurman that highly. To tell you the truth, I think Thurman's been right for the picking for a while. I think Sean Porter deserved a rematch. He didn't want to give him that rematch.
Yeah,
he's been right for the picking for a long time, man. He done scrolls by.
So where are you at with your winner in that one then?
My heart is saying Pacquiao, and my head is starting to lean that way too. Yeah, my heart is for sure saying Pacquiao. I mean, I'd rather see Pacquiao win because Pacquiao ain't gonna BS. He ain't gonna BS around like Thurman does. Thurman thinks very highly of himself. No problem with that. No problem with thinking highly of himself. He just went. He went from being a top guy to just doing nothing. No, man. He maybe he'll do it again. That's what I'm saying. I think it's better for the sport if Pacquiao win.
And that's kind of where that's where kind of my reservation stems from, is the fact that if this cat does win, I don't have any faith in him coming right back and saying, give me the winner of Porter and Spence in any kind of timely manner. I just don't see that happening.
No, he already said after this fight he's taking the rest of the year off. He's already said that. So we're not even going to see a warm up. And then he might be out to April next year. I just don't have much faith. And the thing about, you can talk about fighters in activity, but certain fighters like Thurman, they are self-imposed inactivity. It's not that there ain't no fights out there for them. It's that they don't want any fights, like Thurman.
Yeah, I was in New York, man, when they brought him in there, and he had a couple of press conferences. He was in between surgeries and rehab and whatnot, and they just brought him in to kind of keep him in front of the media and maybe keep his name in people's mouths a little bit, although he was still probably over a year plus away from returning for that Josecito fight. And then I think on one of the press conferences, he actually set up on the on the stage with across from Spence. And like you said, man, I'm just sitting here looking at the guy like, man, I don't really even know what's going on with you, man. You don't even seem to have. And I defended him for a while,
I keep telling people he retired, man. He retired. They use the injury as an excuse. He retired. That's retirement, man. Come on, that injury does not take that long to get back. I'll put it this way: KD would be back faster off his Achilles injury than Thurman would be off his elbow injury.
Now,
I'll put it that way.
Do you think that's one of the drawbacks from boxing? And I think one thing on that, man, it was crazy, and it was I had a real problem with the sanctioning bodies really not stepping in and making a decision, for the integrity of the sport, and making some kind of decision, man. And I mean, there's no way in the world he should have been able to sit around and hold those belts hostage, and you're not active.
Nope. None whatsoever. Once he said his injury, they should have gave him the what's that? The same designation when you retire, but you can come back immediately and challenge. They should have gave him that designation.
In recess or something.
Yeah, that's the day. It should have been immediately boom. But the best thing about these sanctioning orders, they don't move unless there's money. You see how quickly they moved on the Canelo franchise thing? It's money. They'll move quickly on that. Okay, now like right now you got Jamal Charlo out there just got awarded the vacant belt. Now you should be calling his mandatory for his next fight, right?
You would think.
For the vacant belt. Now you're supposed to call it mandatory. If you want to do what's good for the sport, call it mandatory.
You would think.
And that's another thing Jamal Charlo said when he after that Brandon Adams fight, which you remember he hadn't fought since December. Charlo, his problem too is inactivity. He needs to have another fight this year. If he want to be ready for a Triple G, that fight would have to be next, coming quickly off of this fight he just had. He can't wait till March of next year and try to fight Triple G or Canelo. if he doesn't have another fight this year. You know what I'm saying? He can't take off that long of a break. You know, you got to stay sharp in there, especially for young fighters. You got to stay sharp.
Do you think that
Older fighters, they can do it more because they've been doing it so long. They just don't, it's called automatic pop up. But for young fighters, you got to stay sharp.
Do you think that's one of the issues with the PBC? A valid issue is the fact that I don't know if it's the fighter that needs to push for it, the trainers, the handlers, but this inactivity thing with these guys in the prime of their earning potential is just baffling to me.
That for sure was a problem. It was a problem before they got that Fox deal because we had too many fighters and not enough dates. But as you see more and more being active, this is Spencer's second fight of the year after he had got down to damn near one fight every year or one fight every year and a half. This is Porter's second fight of the year. This is the top guy and the lower level guys are getting more fights. Yes, that was a big problem. But and I also say it this way too. Where else were they going to go? Where else were they going to go to fight? HBO had gotten out of the fight game, and even when they was in the fight game, they wasn't doing many dates. So I mean, any, I think Aaron would have had the same problem because he didn't have enough dates. Golden Boy would have had the same problem because they didn't have enough dates. The problem with PBC was if you put all them fighters on, if you had put all their fighters with Golden Boy, the problem would have persisted. If you had put all the fighters with Top Rank, the problem would have persisted. The problem was dates. Nobody had a lot of dates at that time. That was a problem within boxing as a whole. But because, PBC guys are more known, more popular, or whatever, and for some reason more under the microscope, they focus on that. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of fighters out here in the U.S., I should say, that weren't active. But then the larger the roster is, the less dates you had. So, as long as they turn around with the Fox bill, I'm cool with it. But yes, that was the problem.
Looking at this card, I've mentioned before, I guess I can't say that it's not a pay-per-view quality matchup. I guess my problem is just like I said, just struggling with the pros and the cons of this matchup between these two guys. But I guess it's a legit pay-per-view. But I will say that I think the way they've constructed the card definitely solidifies it as a decent value to fight fans. Now, I also add in, I probably won't be buying this at the crib, but I think I'm gonna check it out at the theater if that's an option. And if that's not an option, I might have to get in with you and get on the road, I guess. And
I might have to do it. I might have to throw my own little fight party, and you can live stream the fight while you're at my house. I mean, you can't show the fight, but you can do a live stream broadcast while you're watching the fight. That's what they do on Twitter too. I mean, not on Twitter, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Watch the fight while they're doing the live stream. And that's a good option, man. Because you're gonna get some accidental clicks.
Yeah, I've seen that be pretty popular, on YouTube right now. The live streaming with commentary and no footage. As one person, is nothing that I'm ready to explore or thought to explore, but I do see a lot of that going on.
I like to watch the replays. How people were reacting. After the fight is over, then I like to go in and see how people were reacting.
Okay.
That's the fight was going on. Especially that Joshua Ruiz fight. It's fun to go back and watch those right there, especially when it's a big upset.
Now,
because another thing, a lot of people claim one thing after the fight. When you go back, and their words were a whole lot different during the fight. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, that'll definitely keep you honest. That'll definitely keep you honest.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, but looking down at this card, anything else on that card stand out for you? I believe the Caleb Plant and Mike Lee fight is actually gonna happen on FS1 or something, or?
No, that's gonna be on Fox Prime Time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think you're.
Fox Prime Time.
I think you're right, but
yeah.
Any of the matchups?
Funny. I mean, when was the last time they had two white guys on in the main event boxing? That's gonna be kind of, that's gonna be kind of interesting to see. See the reaction from the public from that.
Yeah, man. I just wonder, can Mike Lee do enough for 3 or 4 rounds to
Nah,
show that?
man, this is a showcase. This ain't nothing but a showcase fight. I mean, that's when I'll still be barbecuing and picking up liquor during that fight. I'm not even interested in that at all.
Do you-
Payano and Neri, that should be a good one.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one. I mean, it's a legit card. I mean, F.A. Ajagba, Sergey Lipinets in against Molina Jr. and all of his bad luck.
Yeah, that's gonna be a nice one too. That's gonna be a nice one too. I'm a Molina Jr. fan though. I like Molina Jr. I like the swag outside the ring. You know, that's I don't know why, man, but there's some guys I'm like Jesse Vargas. I'm a big fan of Jesse Vargas. Some guys, the way they handle themselves outside the ring, I become a fan of theirs. You know what I'm saying? I like Jesse Vargas a lot, and Jesse Vargas is just a professional with boxing needs more. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Molina Jr. is almost like the welterweight Gabriel Rosado, maybe without all of the the bloody outcomes and the cuts and all of that. But he kind of in that zone a little bit, where even though he has these 8 losses, you know, he's still a guy that can command good fights and show up on decent events.
Yeah. I want to see which I would rather see was what's the Cuban that just fought Porter, Yugas.
Yeah.
Him and Molina Jr. and I want to see Lipinets fight Danny Garcia on their own separate card. That's what I want to see.
Speaking of you guys, he's also on that card going up against Omar Figueroa Jr. That's an interesting matchup. You know, I'm not the biggest Figueroa fight. His style is really not one that really stands out to me. But this is an interesting matchup. You know, with him being 28. I guess all in all, man, for me, I have to. I don't criticize the PBC a whole lot. I don't go out of my way to criticize them. But I feel like I am more comfortable with this lineup and this event as a pay-per-view event versus what we saw with the ones in the first half of 2019. I thought those were...
Yeah, with the Garcia. Yeah, the Garcia Spence fight, that was a horrible pay-per-view.
Yeah. That they just completely dropped the ball with that one.
But look. Oh yeah, LeBron too. But let me tell you this. Let me ask you this though, Red, which I've always wondered. 2 things that I see people complaining about, which I haven't seen the stats to back it up, have been the price of pay-per-view and the undercards, factoring into how many buys. I haven't seen the stats to back that up, that the price is really a factor or that the undercard is really a factor. So you think about it, we had a lot of shitty pay-per-views over the years. The best pay-per-view undercard, the last really good pay-per-view undercard was Gallatin versus Jacobs. That was a great undercard. With Siri and Rungavasi lever against Chaco against Gonzalez and
so
Estrada on the undercard. Yeah, that was a good undercard. And then before that, I would have to say Canelo Floyd with Danny Jacobs and Matisse on the undercard. That was a good undercard, but most pay-per-views have shitty undercards.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, I've been pretty vocal about my displeasure with the with the pay-per-view model, mainly because of that. You know, you got to give. I can't sit here. I mean, if you remember last year, 2017, but Showtime was giving you the dope triple headers for free, you know, on the Showtime Championship Boxing, and then we get over to a pay-per-view. And we don't see a lineup, nothing like what we were seeing on some of those triple headers.
Because the pay-per-view is for the casual fans, and all they care about is the main event.
Pretty much.
You know, that's you trying to bait, because they know no matter how much boxing fans buy it, no matter how much boxing fans are playing, and I'm part of the problem. When it comes down to it, I'm going to watch the shit. You know what I'm saying? Just like with the Garcia versus Spence. I dogged that fight from day one. I said it wasn't shit. Still had my ass down at the barber shop watching fights. Paid my little $5. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't watch the fights anyway. They know they got us.
Right.
So they going for the casual fans, which the casual fans, they don't care about these other undercard fights that we just named. They just want to see Pacquiao and Thurman. I mean, I can tell you how many fight parties I've been to where everybody talking, walking around, doing everything until the main event come on. That's why, a lot of, depends on where I'm at. That's why I like watching at the barbershop, because everybody there be full fight fans. Instead of watching at most fight parties where it's only, a couple fight fans. I'll be off to a room by myself on the other TV watching the undercard.
I guess that's what frustrated me a lot more with the situation with the Spence and Garcia card was the fact that this is a great matchup, at least on paper going into it, but to sit there and put that lineup in front of people, in front of casuals, with one of the best names in the game in Errol Spence, two of the best names, and Mikey Garcia too. But to sit here and put that lineup in front of those guys, to me was kind of a disservice to to where they were trying to take Errol Spence in terms of his popularity.
True. I agree with that. Like me, I said it was, which I ended up being wrong. But I thought it was a disservice to put my man Rigo on the undercard of Jamal Charlo fight. I thought he was going to think out the place. He ended up having probably the best fight of the night.
Right.
Because of his history, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was a disservice. But, hey, it worked out, so, we can't all get them right.
Yeah, I see. I was checking out that Golovkin and Jacobs card. You're right. I mean, Gonzalez was on there. Saw Rung Vasai with a great fight. And then Quadras and David Carmona was on there. That was a pretty good fight. Ryan Martin.
That was a really good fight. A lot of people thought Estrada got away with it. Not Estrada. I keep calling him, but I always call him the pimple back. The boy with all the pimples.
Yeah, Quadras.
They thought he got away with it. Yeah, Quadras. Yeah, they thought he got away with one. And then that shortly after that one, is that the one where he took time off? Or was it the fight after that?
I think he got beat in that next. I think he got beat in that next fight, and then he took the time off.
Okay, yeah. And then another thing too, Reg, you got to remember about this card. A lot of people joke about it though. There ain't nobody on this card coming up. You got Neary with his past problems. Speculation with Pacquiao. Ain't nobody on this card being drug tested. So it's gonna be some fireworks on it. I mean, let's be real. I ain't saying, but let's be real. It's gonna be some knockouts on it because there ain't no drug test. Hey, so here's what it is.
How does boxing even let that happen, man? Like, I mean, at a certain level, I mean, at a certain point, every meaningful title fight, like, that'd be like in the NFL, they go to do the Super Bowl and they get the worst crew, the worst graded crew of referees to go out there and call that game, and then the worst stuff happens. Like, at a certain point with the big fights, I mean, it should just be mandatory that's the standard.
Because it's no centralized, boxing commission. That's why that's how they get away with it. There's no checks and balances. Who's going to check the promoter? Or in this case, who's going to check PBC? Who's over them to check them? I guess you could say Fox. They don't care about that stuff. And the funny thing about it, I made a comment about this months ago, that UFC fans hate USADA because they think he killed the sport, while boxing fans want more drug tests. Even though boxing fans like to talk about the glory days, they was all on drugs. They weren't no testing in. They was all on the shit. You know what I'm saying? The glory days was the glory days when they was all on that shit. And there wasn't no testing in. So, you can't have it both ways. Holyfield was on it, but people go all day about how Holyfield was a warrior and how great he was, and he was on it. You had Michael Moore, he got popped. A lot of back then, if he got popped, he was stupid. I mean, you messed up on your cycle or something. That's the only way you got caught. There was only one drug test that was after the fight.
Yeah, after that fight, man, Quadras went on to fight Juan Francisco Estrada and lost that one. It was actually a very close fight on the scorecards, but yeah, Quadras started going a bit away from the championship level kind of after that fight.
Yeah. I think he had popped with some recreational drugs or something, took some time off.
Hey, so